on YouTube that show you how to do things that might seem like fun for the 4th of July. It might seem cool to come try these things at home. There's plenty of YouTube videos that tell you how to do these things, and of course, some of them are, of course, marketed to, well, of course, adults supervised with children, but still, it's marketed, at least in part, to and towards children. King of Random, their sugar rockets, that also, in their testing, they show how different components in it can make it into an explosive. And if you might want to try that for the 4th of July, I want you to remember it's an explosive. It's not a propellant. It's an explosive. This is different. If you put a propellant in your firearm, it's going to propel the bullet forward. If you put an explosive in there, it's going to blow up in your face. Much, much faster boom. So, even though those sugar rockets may seem like a good idea, they're not. Rockets are inherently unsafe. That's why I don't play with them or test them. I think they're cool. I definitely think they're cool, but I don't mess with them for a reason. Some of the King of Random videos they have include putting cool shock treatment in .3 fluid, and although the effect is cool to watch, they also make sure that there is a warning at the very beginning of the thing, and most of them at the end as well, saying, warning, do not try these things at home. These are tested under controlled environments by professionals. Don't try this at home. So that means, hold on a second. Let me translate that into English. Don't try this at home. Not rocket science. Nebraskans, they love their explosives. Okay, we know that fireworks are in abundance. We know you can get artillery shells and sparklers. We also see these YouTube videos with the sparklers mixed with the match heads, and yeah, that's definitely not something you want to try at home. Yes, YouTube allows it on their channel. Yes, it is slightly marketed to children. Yes, during 4th of July, all of these supplies are more prevalent. This is the thing that a lot of folks aren't paying attention to. Yes, in its proper usage, these things are all reasonably safe. But also, if you're going to be handling these materials, there's a reason for the MSDS. That's the Material Safety Data Sheet. One of the things with my car, like when I use potassium nitrate, it's a stump remover. That's specifically what it's for. But if you mix potassium nitrate with sugar, it makes a propellant. But that depends on how much of a mix you do. There's different ways to do it. There's different mixes depending on what kind of sugar you're using. I mean, you need to know your stuff, and you need to actually measure it the way that they're measuring it. When you go, oh, well, this is approximately close, 1 or 2% difference on something like that is the difference between your fingers. It's the difference between 5 fingers and none. So, yeah, don't do that. It says don't try this at home. When they show putting rust in it, just that small percent of rust on the King of Random videos, you can see how that little tiny bit of rust, which is, of course, iron oxide, that's got an oxidant to it, just like the potassium nitrate does. It's an oxide. So when you put that in there, it changes the mixture a lot. And even though some of their sugar rockets that had rust in it burned all right, they burned really hot, and that exploding in their face was probably a good indicator not to keep on messing with it. The .3 fluid with the cool shock treatment, I mean, if it's a low percentage shock treatment, then it's just going to put off a lot of harmful vapors. These things are hazardous to your health. These are literally the vapors they use to kill millions of Jews. So it's probably not a good idea to be, mixing shock treatment with .3 fluid, even if it looks cool. In my car, I mixed, spilled .3 fluid in my vehicle. So Even though I've had people that have said, all right, well, if you go get that stuff, I'll pay for it and you can remove my stump and I'll give you a few dollars. I can't safely transport it in my vehicle. It comes in a bag. Or, no, not the shock treatment, but because I have DOT3 fluid that's mixed in there. And of course, that makes it unsafe having a pool shock treatment, which I don't have a need for or use for, honestly. So when it comes to pool shock treatment, mixing it with my DOT3 fluid. Back when I was working a little bit with pools, that would have made sense to have it in my vehicle, but there's no reason to have it now. And it's inherently unsafe to do so. I know that it's unsafe to do so. If somebody is to say, hey man, could you help me with some pool supplies? I'm going to say no. Because it just takes a little bit of that residue that, maybe somebody spilled a chlorine tablet, a shock treatment tablet a couple of years ago, and it partially got dissolved by some water, and you set that box down in it. I put that box down in my car. Next thing you know, my car is on fire. It does exactly what it's advertised to do by these YouTube videos. It literally, that is what it does. Having sugar in my vehicle, I do have that, but I don't have any potassium nitrate. I make sure I don't. As far as potassium nitrate and sugar goes, that can become a very lethal mix very quickly. Some of the stuff that I have, I made sure that I thoroughly cleaned it before I put it in the vehicle because it might have been contaminated by shock treatment because it was stuff that had been used for chlorinated pools. It probably wouldn't have had enough on there to do anything, but for the sake of argument, yeah, I'd rather not have my evidence burn up in flames. When you guys do this stuff and you think it's fun, like taking artillery shells and you duct tape a bunch of rocks or BBs around the outside of it, it sounds cool. You think you're going to set up the paper targets 10 yards from it and you're going to see a really cool peppering, but no, this is an artillery shell. It launches the streamers is what they're called. That's the burning balls that, they burn slowly, and that's what provides the light that you see as a firework at night. These artillery shells, they push these things out, but the power of them and the weight of those, I mean, they're pretty, well, they're not that big, but most of them are about that big. They're pretty big, and they're not very heavy though. When you're talking about other types of shrapnel, it's going to carry further, it's going to carry longer, it's going to go more than that 10 feet that you think it should. If it's going to blow up 25 yards in either direction from the artillery, when it's up in the air, you got to figure that you're putting yourself and anybody around you, including people like, all right, for example, if you were to light something like that off right there over by the Chevron, the people over there inside of that building might actually be in danger. Everybody in all of these vehicles would be in danger. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to hit any of them. Anybody close to it is going to be hit by a lot, though. So when you see these videos and it says, do not try this at home, it actually does mean do not try these things at home. Does that make sense? The ones where it says to try these things under adult supervision, like the King of Random when they work together with Sonic Dad and they make a video together. Their marshmallow shooter is really cool. It really is. But what they turn it into is potentially lethal. So probably not a good idea. It's probably a good idea if you're even going to use it as a marshmallow shooter to use it under controlled supervision of an adult. Even though these things are marketed as projects that parents can build with their kids, and there are a lot of parents that if they see that, they're going to go out and make that immediately, and they're not going to pay attention to the thickness or the strength or the rigidity of the materials they're using, and they're going to put themselves and others in danger just by Yeah, it's a cool idea theoretically, but they're not following the instructions, and now they've got something that they've turned from a marshmallow shooter into a bomb that's going to blow up right next to their kid's fucking head. No, follow the instructions. Now, with me, a lot of these people, when I followed the instructions, and with these people, followed the instructions, those instructions were clearly stated to these people and to myself, and we followed those instructions, and they did not work. Now, since those instructions did not work, where are we supposed to go? Who are we supposed to go to? On the 4th of July, a lot of people do stupid shit. A lot of people do some drinking. A lot of people do things that are not appropriate. It doesn't always put them at risk, just like drunk driving. I think first offense, drunk drivers should go to prison. A lot of people disagree, but when you've had as many people as I have that have died due to drunk drivers or drunk driving themselves, you get it. Most of the time, drunk drivers, they're more likely to kill someone else than themselves. If they get into an accident with a family of 6, that family of 6 is more likely to die than the person who's drunk driving. When Chance Dale was killed, well, he shouldn't have been drunk driving Aaron Stegeman's vehicle. And Aaron Stegeman, thank goodness, wasn't drunk driving, but Chance wasn't in any shape to drunk drive, and Chance's girlfriend wasn't in any shape to drunk drive, and so Chance and his girlfriend both died. Aaron Stegeman survived it. There's a lot of people who have done things that I don't approve of, that before I would have done a bit more to try to stop them. But because of the reputation thing, people can do whatever they want to me, and they can commit crimes in front of me blatantly and openly, and nobody's going to care. Anyway, I got a little bit of charge on my phone. Hopefully Amanda won't be too busy. I did call her up and try to explain the situation with Meg, but I wasn't able to. It went straight to the answering machine, so I just explained it to her answering machine. I don't know if her answering machine recorded it or not, and it was pretty lengthy, but, you know, it's a messed up thing. When people screw up because they made bad assumptions. And because they're bad assumptions, they allow a lot of things to continue to happen instead of looking when they should. When an adult is being abused, just like when a child is being abused, they need someone to hear them. If the people that they're speaking to don't hear them, sure, you can talk at them until you're blue in the face. It's not going to make any difference because they're not hearing you. They're hearing what's in their own head. They're hearing their own assumptions. They're hearing the rumors. They're hearing the, oh, well, why were you helping him? Why are you helping him? You know, you shouldn't help him. Oh, I got to warn you, man. I got to warn you. Like, yeah, who's warning you? Those people need to go to court. This shows how easy it is to destroy an innocent man's life just by calling him mentally ill. All those warnings, that is harassment. That is intimidating. That is scary, especially in a small town like Chapel, Nebraska. People who've lived in small towns know. Those of you who haven't, you've got no clue.